The drama surrounding this fight unfolded not as a single moment, but as a slow-burning collision of willpower, resilience, and raw violence that only elite mixed martial artists can survive. From the opening exchanges, it was clear this was never going to be a technical sparring match designed to impress judges quietly. This was a statement fight, one where pride, identity, and future opportunity were all on the line. Every movement carried intent. Every strike landed with purpose. The atmosphere inside the arena crackled as the crowd sensed they were witnessing something special, the kind of contest that blurs the line between sport and survival. Cheyenne, known as the Warrior Princess, entered the contest with an aura of inevitability. She marched forward relentlessly, unfazed by resistance, absorbing pressure while dishing it back in equal measure. Across from her stood a challenger who refused to be overwhelmed, matching intensity with intelligence, refusing to wilt under the Warrior Princess's forward momentum. Takedown attempts were stuffed with grit rather than finesse, shoulders dug in, heads pressed tight, neither fighter willing to give an inch. The clinch became a battlefield of its own, where exhaustion crept in and heart took over. This was not about perfection. This was about endurance. As the fight progressed, it evolved into something rawer, almost primal. Strikes were traded in unforgiving sequences, one fighter stepping forward as the other answered back without hesitation. The crowd roared at every exchange, reacting not just to power but to courage. These women were not retreating. They were daring each other to break first. Blood began to mark the toll of battle, painting a visible picture of how evenly matched and brutally contested the fight had become. Neither athlete looked comfortable, but both looked unbreakable. There were moments where momentum seemed to shift, subtle changes that only seasoned viewers could appreciate. Footwork tightened, angles sharpened. One fighter began to cut off the cage more effectively, asserting control over space even as fatigue set in. The other responded with grit, digging deep and finding energy where none should have remained. Defensive grappling came into play, with takedown attempts answered by speed and balance rather than brute force. Control of the hexagon mattered here, and every step backward or forward carried weight in the judges' unseen notebooks. By the later stages, the fight had become a war of attrition. Each exchange asked a simple question: who wants this more? Faces told the story better than commentary ever could. Damage was evident, but resolve burned brighter. One fighter wore the cost of the battle more visibly, yet refused to slow. The other pressed forward, seeking dominance through position and pressure, knowing that every second mattered. When a final takedown attempt came late, it felt like a punctuation mark on chaos, a last desperate push to sway an impossible decision. When the final bell sounded, there was no sense of clarity, only awe. The arena buzzed with uncertainty because everyone understood how close it had been. This was one of those rare fights where victory and defeat felt interchangeable depending on perspective. Cage control, significant strikes, forward pressure, visible damage, heart, composure under fire, all of it blended into a perfect storm that defied easy scoring. Analysts debated. Fans argued. Fighters embraced. Respect lingered in the air, heavier than celebration. When the decision was finally read, the reaction was explosive. A split decision crowned Cheyenne, the Warrior Princess, as the victor, but it did not diminish the performance of her opponent. If anything, it elevated both women. This was not a win that erased the other side. It was a result that acknowledged how thin the margins truly were. The Warrior Princess stood emotional, not from relief alone, but from the weight of everything it took to get there. 8 grueling weeks of sacrifice, personal battles fought far from the spotlight, and the unshakable support system that carried her into the cage all came rushing to the surface. Her victory speech reflected something deeper than triumph. It spoke of belonging, of finding a home through struggle, of fighting not just for titles or rankings, but for identity and gratitude. The crowd responded in kind, recognizing authenticity when they saw it. This was not just another win added to a record. This was a moment that redefined her journey and announced her arrival as a serious force in the division. Beyond the immediate celebration, the implications of the fight rippled outward. Whispers of future matchups began immediately, with the understanding that whoever emerged from this war would be tested again, possibly against the very best the division had to offer. The performance demanded attention. It promised future wars. And perhaps most importantly, it showcased the depth and evolution of women's MMA, where skill, toughness, and storytelling collide in unforgettable fashion. Both fighters left the cage changed. One with her hand raised, the other with her reputation elevated. The crowd left knowing they had witnessed something rare, a fight that would be talked about long after highlights faded. These are the battles that define careers, not because of dominance, but because of adversity overcome and respect earned the hardest way possible. If this fight proved anything, it's that moments like these are why we watch. Why we invest emotionally. Why we argue decisions and replay exchanges in our minds. So now the question turns to you. Did the judges get it right, or do you think this fight deserved a different outcome? Should we see an immediate rematch? Or is the warrior princess ready for her next test at the very top? Let me know your thoughts below, and if you want more deep, cinematic breakdowns of unforgettable fights like this, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story that shakes the cage.